What's going on, everybody? I'm Brandon Freno. Joined by me is our special guest Rohan and our boy Deon, Not a Game Podcast himself. And we're waiting for my co-host Christian. I don't know where he's at right now, but he should be joining right now. But let's go ahead and get on to it. We got 49ers Tramps started yesterday. We're excited. Trey Lance QB1. Rohan, I know you've been at training camp the past 2 days. My question is, how does Trey look so far? I know it's just the second day and no pads or anything, but how does he look, and how is our offensive line looking so far?
Yeah, I mean, we start off with Trey Lance, right? The most important kind of topic. Trey Lance, first day, looked all right. 9 of 11 passing, but the 49ers didn't really have much of an install. Most of the passes were 10 yards or under. A lot of action towards tight ends, a lot of action towards running backs yesterday. You saw tight ends like Tyler Croft, Tanner Hudson, George Kittle, obviously, and Jordan Matthews all be in the mix yesterday. Today, completely different game plan, completely different install. The 49ers stretched the field a lot more. You saw passes to all levels of the field. Trey Lance, a little more rusty on day two. He finished the day 6 of 14. But something that I mentioned today, both on stream and in spaces, accuracy and completion percentage are not the same. I'll get on that in a minute. But overall, Lance, 6 of 14 today, had a couple of poor throws, a couple of good throws that didn't end up being completions, and then a couple of good throws altogether. I personally thought it was a fine day by Lance despite the incompletion percentage. And the one thing I want to stress, guys, even though that when you look at the number, under 50% completion percentage, Trey Lance today had 3 throws that were like pretty deep throws, a 35-yard out to Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk just had it at the catch point. Manuel Mosley pinned him to the sideline. Then, as Brandon Ayuk is coming down, Mosley swats it out of his hands. That was a good ball by Lance. I thought it was good placement. Second one is a 40-yard out to the right sideline to Jawan Jennings with Travarius Ward in coverage. Jawan Jennings had it, couldn't corral it when he came down. It was another nicely placed ball by Lance, a 40-yard deep ball. Ward knocks it out, had a PBU on that play. And then the third one was Ray McLeod going towards the right sideline, near the right sideline, 17-yard play. Lance bullets it in, but Talanoa Hufanga just made a good play on it, made a great break, got a deflection, and an incompletion there. So, again, there were caveats to those plays, but Lance looked good overall.
That's good. That's good.
Oh,
Christian,
offensive line.
go ahead.
Yeah, you said offensive line as well. The second part about the offensive line. Yesterday, they were all right. Not nothing special really, but nothing too poor. The main caveat that we saw was Spencer Burke, first team. He took all the first team reps at right guard. The reason being Daniel Brunskill, the 49ers want to try at center. He's been taking only center reps. And Jalen Moore, due to Mike McGlinchey being out, well, he's not out, right? He's practicing in team drills, but he does not practice in the scrimmages. Due to the lack of depth at right tackle, Jalen Moore has taken all the first team right tackle snaps in scrimmages. Hasn't looked really that great, if we're being honest, at right tackle. I think he's more of a guard. But that's the main thing that we saw on day one. Today, defensive line definitely dominated. But then again, the one thing that we have to notice is this is without pads. Defensive line is bound to dominate without pads, but they ultra dominated today. Nick Bosa and Drake Jackson were the guys that really had the best days out of the group with Arik Armstead out. Yesterday it was Armstead. Today it was those two. Strong day by the defensive line. Not really a great day for the offensive line today.
But those
Now,
that's awesome, man. Not nice to meet you, Rohan. I've seen you a couple of times on Breezy's show. Now, how do you say your last name?
Chakravarthi.
Chakravarti. Okay, cool. Easy,
Perfect.
easy
Is
to
that-
pronounce. Yeah, good.
The
I
Indian
always
Indian
ask that.
descent.
I don't know why. I'm weird. I'm
Yes,
weird
sir.
like that. I like foreign names, but I want to make sure I pronounce them correctly if I ever say it, so I don't butcher it. Um, Great assessments overall, man. The only thing I don't like is hearing Daniel Brunskill at center. No, no,
Yeah.
not again. No. And I knew Kyle was going to do this. And he said it in the press conference before camp even started, and it broke my heart because I'm like, Brendel and Lance have the continuity already built. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Daniel Brunskill was not a great center in 2020. He filled in and he did his job, but he just did that. So for me, it's really going to kill me that, he keeps doing this, and I knew he was going to do that. I don't know what it is about Jake Brendel that doesn't say, hey, this is the guy, but the past couple of days has Daniel Brunskill has been our center, correct?
No. Brendel has been the starter. He started both days at center. However, Brunskill he's been the second team guy to start, but Brunskill has been sprinkled in with the ones for some run during scrimmages. Yesterday it was Brunskill. Today it was Brendel starting. Brunskill got sprinkled in, and then Brendel came in towards the end at center as well.
Okay. Because and people out there watching, take this with a grain of salt. This is not the true starting offensive line. They're only doing either 7-on-7s. I know today they did 11-on-11s, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is not the real starting offensive line, okay?
No.
When Trent Williams tell me if you agree with this, Rohan, because I've been saying this for a while and people seem to agree with it. Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Brunskill, and McGlinchey. That should technically be the starting offensive line.
Correct.
Provided Kyle doesn't go ahead and be like, hey, man, Dan's going to be our starter at center. I did hear that Daniel messed up a snap, which caused an issue, but I think Lance recovered from it. So that's why I was shaking my head when you were saying that, man. I got real mixed feelings about him being at center. I'm not comfortable
they
at
put him
all.
at every position. They put him at every position other than the one that he's actually good at. So, which is
go ahead.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think Brunskill will win the job. I know people around me do believe that Brunskill could win the center job. I personally think it's Brendel just because he's got the connection with Trey. Brendel and Lance have been together for the entire last offseason. They were the second team center and quarterback. This offseason, who's the first team quarterback? It's Trey Lance. Who's the first team center? It's Jake Brendel. They've got the connection. Brendel's the one also calling the protections. That's something I'm bound to find out. Does Daniel Brunskill call protections when he's in at center, or is it somebody else on the offensive line? Is it the quarterback or something like that? Because Brendel's the one calling all the protections with the first team. When Brunskill gets swapped in, I'm curious how that is. But I just think that center quarterback connection in this case specifically is very important. I think Brendel has the edge on that right now. And I think really we're going to see how they move in the run game on Monday when Pats come on, because Brendel, that's where his forte is. It's not pass protection, it's run blocking, because he's an athletic guy, he's intelligent, he's able to move out to that second level.
Okay. What defensive back stood out to you outside of Charvarius Ward? Because I've heard all the chatter about how great he's looking and all the fits he's giving people, and I've heard a little bit about Emmanuel Mosley. But who else is trying to stand out at camp that's a DB?
To me, I thought it was the top two. Obviously, you heard about Ward and Mosley. Yesterday, day one of camp, Mosley was the best player on the field. 2 PBUs on his 2 targets. Ward wasn't even targeted. Today, it was Ward. Ward had 5 targets at him today, only allowed 1 completion, and that was on an extended play when Trey Lance got out of the pocket, rolled, made a crossbody throw, nice throw to Brandon Ayuk for a 20-yard completion. That was off probably 7-8 seconds of coverage, so it's understandable there. The other 4 plays, 2 incompletions, 2 PBUs. So a strong day from Ward. Mosley, I think, had 1 target thrown at him, 1 PBU on Brandon Ayuk. But really, 49ers cornerbacks, top ones have been locking down the top receivers. That's the story of it. Receivers have been doing really good against the second and third team defenses, but the top receivers against the top cornerbacks, the cornerbacks are winning the battle so far. But as for the slot, Darqueze Hennard has gotten all the first team snaps, which is interesting so far. Samuel Womack is playing with the 2s. Quantrez Knight is the third-team slot cornerback. Denard is the guy who I'm very interested in. Does he stay at the slot cornerback starting spot? And how does he fare? Because the 49er quarterbacks have to target the slot given how the outside corners have played.
Have you seen anything out of Diamador Lenore and Trey Sermon?
Yeah,
that was my next question.
Go for it. But speaking first on Diamador Lenore, I thought he looked all right the last 2 days. Lenore has been with the second team. It's him and Ambry Thomas on the outside with the second team corners behind. So he's essentially the fourth string outside corner. It's Ward, Mosley, then it's Thomas, and then Lenore. Lenore has been playing press man coverage when he's been out there. He looked fine. I thought he wasn't too bad the first 2 days. He's looked attentive. He had a nice acrobatic, fantastic catch in positional drills yesterday when they were playing against the coaches. I thought that was a nice play by Lenore. But again, it's positional drills. But Lenore so far, he hasn't looked too bad. I think he's definitely fighting to make this roster alongside another guy who looked good in Tariq Castro Fields, has the build of an outside corner, has looked much better than I thought because of the reports from minicamp when he was struggling a lot more when he was in the slot. He's pushed to his more natural position of the outside. He's looked much better at the outside. I mean, again, third team offense versus third team defense. Take what you want. But Castro Fields looks like an NFL corner as well. The second guy you mentioned, Trey Sermon. I actually thought Trey Sermon looked fine today. He looks much like more fit now. I know there have been concerns about Sermon's vision. I can't quantify that until we see pads, but his cuts look really nice. He had a nice run today. The run was towards the outside on the left side. Sermon cut it back towards the middle and the right side, and that cut itself was just so fluid. I thought I really liked it, and I think he has a potential to be that RB2 alongside TDP this year. That battle will be interesting to see and how it unfolds.
Was he starting with the second team?
They interchanged reps.
Interchanged with him and TDP?
The 49ers, it's interesting. They don't necessarily, like the second team, they mix in a bunch of guys where you'll see third teamers come in with the second team. You'll see some of the first teamers bump because Ayuk had some good run with the twos over the last 2 days. Jennings definitely had run with the twos over the last 2 days. And some of the starters had some runs with on the offensive line had run with the twos too.
When it comes to the running back position, let's be honest, it's going to be by committee. And if one running back's having the hot hand that day, Kyle's just going to keep going with him. And then the next game, it'll completely change. So, I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
That's what I think is going to happen. It's just going to be constantly rotating them so they stay healthy.
I think this
Go ahead, Brandon.
I was just going to say, I think this also helps too with the whole Debo situation and him not wanting to play that running back role anymore. So having more running backs as well is going to help the Niners in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, just a small sample size of what we've seen so far. I'm safely assuming that it would probably be TDP, Sermon, and Elijah Mitchell that are our main three backs, and you probably stash somebody on the practice squad. I honestly feel like Hasty, Mason, and Jeff Wilson Jr. on the outside looking in as far as like actually being active starters. Would I be correct in that assumption, Rohan?
So right now, yeah, Jeff Wilson Jr., if we're being honest, I don't think he's going to make the roster just based off the first 2 days. He hasn't looked that good compared to the other guys. He's been running back behind, like in front of Jordan Mason. And when you look at the comparison between the two, I think Mason's just a better player right now. Wilson Jr., he might be just shaking off rust, right? Coming back, this is after an unhealthy season. Might be shaking off rust. Maybe he looks better over the rest of camp. But so far, I didn't think Wilson possessed the explosiveness that I was looking for. I didn't think he possessed the speed. And he was not tackled, but he was caught for a couple TFLs today as well.
Yeah.
Another question too is I heard Mason was actually doing he had some good runs today as well in practice. What are your thoughts on Mason so far?
I like Mason. I've liked Mason since the pre-draft process. I thought that Mason was a good undrafted free agent pickup, and he looks like an NFL player. The most like he was running well. He was running strong and physical. He's fast. The most impressive thing to me wasn't his runs. It was the one catch he had today. It was a comebacker. I forget. I think it was Sudfeld throwing it. It was a comeback route, about a 8-10 yard catch. Then he swiftly moved and creeped along the sideline, had a nice run after the catch as well.
So, how's Jackson looking opposite Bosa so far?
Jackson, he looked really good.
He learning quickly? He did?
I think so. Yeah, I think Jackson looked really good today. He was, in my opinion, the two defensive ends were the two best defensive linemen today. Bosa and Jackson consistently got to the quarterback. Jackson had a shared sack with Nick and DJ. Bosa had 2 sacks on Colton McKivitz, and Jackson had a pressure as well on Jalen Moore. And I think it was not Jalen Moore, Justin Skule, the backup right tackle. But those are the two guys that were looked at the edge. Jackson got a lot of run. Jordan Willis started on the edge because Armstead wasn't out. Omenihu normally starts on the edge. Armstead was out. Omenihu slid in, played interior today. Jordan Willis got the first reps, but Jackson got a majority of the reps at defensive end alongside Nick Bosa. I like the comparison with the two.
That's awesome.
Do we?
Go ahead,
Christian.
Oh, I was just saying, I was just curious about Jackson because I don't think we know that much of the player he's going to be yet because obviously USC has been so terrible at developing talent. So I'm just excited to see how much, since he's been getting work with the team, how much better he's improving.
USC is terrible at developing talent? What are we talking about here? USC churns out defensive stars year in and year out.
Dude, are you kidding? Lately, dude, they've been absolutely atrocious at developing their talent. Like, look at all the 5-star guys that are going second, third, fourth round. They've been really bad. Like they used to be good, but lately because all the turmoil at USC, they have not been good. Like that's the thing, like how they
downs, changing the coaches,
all the ups and downs, changing. They haven't been developing their talent. So like I think Jackson was supposed to be like coming out of high school, like first round grade when he did finally get in the NFL. He was like top, one of the top rushers in the nation when he decided to go to USC, and then he underwhelmed because they've just been developing their talent so poorly. But you kind of see like you get some of these guys that are going in the mid rounds of USC, and then they turn out a lot better than you think. Like Hufanga is a perfect example. Mm-hmm. He's pretty good safety with a lot of really great instincts, but you can kind of tell that he probably didn't get the coaching and the development that he should have got at USC.
True.
And
true. I
mean, what he's gotten so far.
I don't like USC as it is because I'm a UCLA guy. So either way,
yeah.
But I mean, if they give us talented players, I'll take it.
Yeah, like I hate them too, but like just being a Pac-12 for so long now, being a Ute, so I paid a lot of attention to it, and USC's been a complete dumpster fire. To be fair, they're still recovering from the
Pete Carroll days,
whatever you call it, the black or what are they death penalty that they're still recovering from.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush thing.
Quick side note. The study clause has been removed from Mr. Murray's contract.
Yeah, I saw that.
So he must have went in office and cried a lot and been like, I don't want to watch film. Look, man, at the end of the day, when you're playing a sport, whatever you do in life, you want to dedicate yourself to that if you really have a passion for it. Part of that dedication is educating yourself on the opponent. Whether you're on the debate team, the chess team, football, baseball, basketball, I don't care what you're doing. If you have some kind of competition, you want to know your competition. You want to know their strong points. You want to know their weak points. So you know how to attack. And at the same time, being 5'8" at best, because he is not 5'11". I've been close enough to the man. He's not 5'11". Being that short, knowing you have to move and shift and find curves and spots because all of your offensive linemen are over 6 feet, it would behoove you to study your defense. I'm just saying, and for them to have to put that as a clause in your contract, then you to complain enough to get it removed. I don't know if I'd have gave you $43 million a year. I'm just saying.
Wouldn't have. I mean, look at how their play dwindles throughout as the season goes on. That has a lot to do with the fact that he doesn't watch any film, and then teams figure him out, and he's not watching film to understand defenses to make the adjustments, and then they suck. Like he looked like, he looked like freaking C.J. Beathard in the playoffs against the Rams.
Isn't it always? Yeah, tell me if you see this. If you see this too, Rohan. They start out the Cardinals. They start out on fire, and then they just fizzle out toward the end of the season. Like they kind of they're like up, and then they just start taking a downward spiral, and next thing you know, they slide into the playoffs, and nobody wins because that's just not what Cliff Kingsbury does.
I've seen a Kingsbury tweet. It's not even with the Cardinals. When he was with Texas Tech, he had that exact same thing where every year, apparently, he's like started off strong and then just bottomed out. And it's just been a recurring theme. I mean, you can't really put any science to it, but like that's something that just happens year in and year out.
Yeah. All right, Rohan, I have a question for you. How has Javon Kinlaw looked?
Kinlaw actually looked pretty good yesterday. Again, he's a guy who hasn't played in scrimmage. I don't think I don't know if he'll play with scrimmage. I know the 49ers have a closed practice tomorrow and then an open one on Saturday. I don't know if he'll scrimmage in either of those two. But individual drills, he looks like he has that explosiveness back. I know another reporter, I forget who, pointed out that Kinlaw did beat Nick Bosa in a one-on-one kind of speed, quickness kind of drill with defensive linemen. And he looks huge, looks in shape, and he's been starting out there with Arik Armstead in drills.
What's it like being up close to that guy? Because he's a friggin' monster.
Yeah, no, that guy.
Dude, he is one of the biggest humans I've ever seen.
The funny thing, Rohan's face. You know what Rohan's face said?
Yeah,
this is like standing. This is like Kevin Hart standing next to Shaq. You're not about to put no.
And I'm tall too. I'm 6'2", and that guy is just huge when you see him in person.
Yeah, it was hard. You know what really made me notice that he was really big. It's really hard to dwarf Nick Bosa. But when they took a picture, I was like, why Nick Bosa look like a child compared to Javon Kinlaw looking like a grown ass man out here? Like he is a very, very big individual.
If he's healthy, dude, he's gonna eat up every single run game every single week.
I can tell you this, in Madden, he is a nightmare on that inside. Every time I play with him, literally, I swear to you, all I do is club left or club right. It doesn't matter what side they put him on. And I literally, I am on the quarterback within seconds. And if I really want to rush the quarterback, I'll play with Nick because he has the speed.
Dude, I can't wait to see him when he finally finds the right offensive lineman that literally he just throws him. It's gonna be a game where he just comes up out of nowhere and the guy just freaking goes flying and he gets a sack.
He's got a pretty nasty bull rush. He's had that since college. It's just the thing is you can't just do that in the NFL because people know they got skills, they got techniques, so they can defend that much. Who's the sleeper that no one's really talking about, Rohan, that you saw that was like, where did this dude come from?
Yeah, so it's a guy that I talked about a little earlier. Did I see Steph? Yeah, I've been with Steph actually. Saw the last 2 days, but a sleeper that I talked about going into training camp with my guy Marco. We both talked about him. Curtis Robinson, linebacker, second-year player out of Stanford, undrafted guy out of Stanford last year. Curtis Robinson is a guy who you guys should keep your eyes on as potentially making the team as that fifth linebacker. We've got Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shire, Drake Greenlaw. Everybody knows them. Oren Burks, we signed to a 2-year deal this year. He's a lock for the roster. That fifth spot, though, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles has been there for the last couple of years, but he could be traded this offseason. Restricted free agent next year. The 49ers might not want to pay him $2.5 million to be a fifth linebacker. Other teams might value that special teams expertise and his athleticism to be a potential linebacker. And then when I'm looking at the second team, Curtis Robinson has been vocal. He's a leader out there with that second team unit. He's been talking to guys like Burks and Flanagan Fells. He's been moving well. I think he's a sleeper to potentially make this roster. I think he's a good athlete too.
Oh, so he's been the Mike on the second team.
He's the Mike.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
DFF was the Mike
Not
last year with that second team. He's the Mike this year. It's DFF. I believe. DFF is on the right, I think, and Burks is on the left. Yeah, with him being the Mike.
That shows a
I
lot
find
of
that
trust in
interesting.
him, man, because being the Mike, that's not a simple task. You're the quarterback of the defense. You're getting everybody lined up, making sure everything is good. And if he's performing like you say he's performing, hopefully when the pads come on, that continues, and we can see some of this in preseason.
See, I find that interesting though too, because it's kind of funny. Because when you think about it, all our starting linebackers, are like the Mike freaking guys, but only one of them can be. So it's Warner, but Alshire and Greenlaw can do it and do it well. So now we got another guy. If there's another guy coming up in the 4 spot that can do it too, like that makes me feel pretty good about where we're at linebacker.
For sure.
That's awesome, man. That's good. I'm glad we got a guy, because you know what, to be honest with you, I knew nothing about Curtis Robinson. I knew he was on the team, but that was about as much as I knew. I knew he was a linebacker, but not a lot, because you know how it is. You typically don't pay attention to the second, third, and fourth string guys. I mean, you know who they are, but there's not a ton of information that's provided on them. So thank you for letting us know. We got a question for you. It says, is there any truth in your opinion that Tarvarius Moore is the odd man out based on what you've seen?
So far, no, but I can understand why people may think that. I've also floated that out there, just if another guy has a good camp. But right now, the top 2 safeties have been Ward and Hufanga. Those are the 2 guys that are starting. The backup safeties, the second team safeties, have been George Odom and Tarvarius Moore. So those are the 2 guys that have they've been playing as the backup guys. It hasn't necessarily been any interchange guys. The third team guys are Taylor Hawkins and Dante Johnson. I don't think Johnson makes the initial 53 just because the 49ers are going to cut him before bringing him back after all the PUP, injured reserve, all that kind of stuff, because Johnson is a veteran. You can just release him. He goes straight to free agency instead of waivers, so you don't have to worry about that. You can bring him back. I think Moore's got a shot to make this roster for sure. I don't think right now he's not the odd man out. Right now Johnson is, because he's the 5th safety on the team. And Taylor Hawkins did have a pick today. He's looked fine, and he's a safety linebacker hybrid type of player who the 49ers might like. But right now, it is looking like Moore is in, and Johnson is not, based on just how they've played so far.
And it's funny because we all know Dante Johnson will be back, because he knows where the bodies are buried, or he's got some kind of secret on the 49ers. Because it never makes sense, but every single year, he's here. He's here. I think only maybe 1 or 2 years he's been with somebody else. I think he went to the Seahawks for like a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And even after that, he turned around and came right back. I always joke and say this, Rohan, that when he goes home, his wife is like, babe, you're not going to go look for a job? You're out of the league? He's like, nah, Niners will be calling soon. Just going to kick back, watch TV. Just seems like that's the case of it. I mean, like, it's nice.
What's going on, media?
What's going on, media? How is Jason Poe looked? Do you think he's being developed for center, swing, or right side?
So this is going to be unfortunate for 49er fans, because I know a lot of you guys that like Jason Poe. He has not looked that good. Poe has been a guard. He's been a right guard. I think he's also played a little bit on the left side, but he's been a right guard so far. He is so small. He's the smallest guy on the offensive line. It's very noticeable, and you'd expect him to play center, but because of the Brunskill, the Brunskill-Brendel competition, Keaton Sutherland is the third guy, and so there's no room, alongside Donovan West being there, right? So there's no room for Jason Poe to play center, and he's just looked small. Today he was overwhelmed a lot. He was pressured a couple of times at the guard spot by the defense. I don't know if he gave up a sack. I know he was in on a couple of pressures, but initially, like yesterday when looking at him, I mean, before I already didn't think he was going to make the roster. I don't think that he will make the roster now for sure. He is a guy who can be potentially a practice squad guy. I personally don't think he'll get claimed. A lot of people might like the intrigue of him, but right now, like the problem with a Swiss Army knife like Poe is to be a Swiss Army knife and to have value, you need to add value at least one of those positions right now. And I don't think Poe has value at any of those positions right now. And so that's what I think about Poe. But I do think that once he grows a little more into his frame over the next year, once he becomes a little more technically sound, probably like he was, like he needed to improve on a little bit at Mercer, I think he definitely has potential over the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Okay, so here's my question. I know Trent is gone for a family matter. When do we expect to see him? Do we see him back Monday with when they have pads on? What are we thinking with Trent Williams? Any word on that?
I don't know when he comes back. Hopefully, it is by Monday because Colton McKivitz hasn't looked that good either. Today, he got hampered on the left side by Nick Bosa, gave up multiple sacks, like I said. Williams has been out with a personal matter, and last year I heard from a couple of the guys that Williams actually didn't practice that much in scrimmage time. And while it might be good
Does
because
he really need to?
he doesn't necessarily need to, but I think for Trey Lance's sake, you kind of want him to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Because Nick Bosa was just in the backfield consistently today, maybe 4 or 5 times in the short amount of time that the quarterbacks were out there. So you don't necessarily need him, but it at least provides you with the representation of what you might see on a regular basis. Then again, you might want to see what you have out of those guys. But to me, you've seen enough to know that those guys aren't it right now. So I think that you should just put Trent Williams back there. I think so. If we're talking about the offensive lineman that could make the roster, Justin Skule immediately is the guy that I think is going to get cut. He looked pretty bad today at right tackle. He is the backup of Jalen Moore. He's a third-team guy. He was the first-team guy in minicamp. I didn't know how he looked at minicamp. I didn't read reports on him there, but he committed a false start. He was a little bit like in shambles in that way, and he also got pressured by Drake Jackson. Gave up a couple of pressures there. The offensive line overall didn't look that good. I'm not going to put too much into it until I see pads, but I don't expect much to change when it comes to Justin Skule. I don't think he makes the roster.
Okay, so who's been the guy that's just been a flat-out disappointment? Is it Justin Skule, or is there another guy that's just been like, ugh, man, it's not looking good?
So I would say that it probably is Skule. The two that I'd say are Skule and maybe Jeff Wilson Jr. Running backs, I won't put too much stock into it. I put Skule above him, but those are the two guys. You maybe could have made an argument for Jeff Wilson Jr. maybe over even a Trey Sermon or Jermichael Hasty. I think Hasty's honestly looked better to start camp, at least in the early part. I think Hasty's just moved better, and Hasty did have a catch as well. So that's the case.
Melissa, she did ask before, do you think Dwelly could lose his spot to Tyler Croft? I'd really love to see I'd really love it if it's Tyler, Charlie, and George as tight ends 1 through 3.
I think Dwelly could lose his spot potentially. I think there is an argument for certain tight ends to be there. I just don't think it's Tyler Croft. I know Tyler Croft was a name that people did mention prior to camp, but I think Tyler Croft also is the only tight end with the money guaranteed to him in other players on the bubble. He had $25K guaranteed, but I haven't heard Tyler Croft's name that much. He hasn't popped up too much in scrimmage, at least. I know he's more of a blocking tight end, so we'll see when blocking does matter a little more when they're running the football. But out of the receivers, the guy that's popped out, raised eyes on both days, has been Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews had a nice 23-yard catch today. Had a nice catch, and then a little run for a touchdown. I don't know how you grade it, but he had a nice catch to end practice yesterday as well from Brock Purdy. He's been a guy who has had catches on both days. Yesterday, tight ends received a lot more action with more of a short game. You saw guys like Tanner Hudson get in the mix. You saw, like I said, Matthews. And then there was one other tight end on top of George Kittle. I'll pull up my notes and figure that out. But, yeah, it was not Tyler Croft, though.
Does Purdy really have that weak of an arm?
Oh, yeah. It's unfortunate.
So does he just throw the ball? Is he throw the ball like when I try to throw the ball, like because my shoulder's shot from baseball? So is that how he throws the ball, where he just looks like his shoulder hurts as soon as he lets it go?
So I wanted to camp optimistic, right? I was like, okay, I want to see what we have. I thought Sudfeld would beat quarterback 2. And then it's the first quarterback drills that I watched. The first drills, it's just throwing to coaches with no defense or anything. And you could just see the noticeable difference between Lance and Sudfeld were one group and Purdy was the other group. Purdy, yeah, the ball it takes a while to travel. There are some throws where you what do you call it? There are some throws where you were like, oh wow, he put some zip on that ball. But for the majority of the time, that's not the case. You saw it on the 2 interceptions. He started practice today. His first throw was a pick. It was with the third team. That ball was traveling for a while, and that wasn't the worst one. The second one was really bad. Marcus Johnson was probably open 45 yards down the field, wide open. Purdy got sacked on the play, but he chose to extend the play, rolled out to his right. Marcus Johnson's wide open, but that ball traveled like a Jimmy Garoppolo ball. And in a way, it traveled in the air for probably 5-7 seconds. And Taylor Hawkins, who was on the right side of the field, traveled over to the left side of the field, intercepted the pass. It wasn't a really great. I mean, it's not wrong to move on.
Rohan, before you
it blows my mind that
Joey is always like that in the comments. You do not have to actually address it, bro. He be always with the shit. This is normal, bro.
Joey, dude.
Normal.
So, dude, what I mean about Purdy is he's a practice squad quarterback. There isn't a quarterback competition. It's not close. Sudfeld by far is the better quarterback. And Purdy, I mean, you can look at completion percentage and maybe think that, right? Purdy had a good day. He was 6 of 8 with the 2 picks as his 2 completions. But it's clear that Sudfeld is the better quarterback for sure.
Yeah, I kind of thought that way anyway. I mean, you see Lance's 1, Sudfeld 2, throw Purdy on the practice squad. You know, keep Juice as your third quarterback as he wants to be so badly, you know, as he professed last year. I remember what was it? It was 2020 when he was like, I want to be the third quarterback because I think we were going into a game and we only had either Mullins or Beathard, and they put Jerick McKinnon with his worthless self as the backup. And they were like, and Juice was making a strong push. He was in practice a little upset that they didn't choose him.
So I just wanted to comment on the Purdy thing though. It's just, isn't it funny how you can be a Power 5 school and have that weak of an arm? Kind of blows my mind. Like I know it's Iowa State and they run the ball, but like how can you be a Power 5 school and have that weak of an arm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Rohan, I wanted to ask you, what's the word on Aaron Banks? Melissa brought it up in this comment right here. Jalen Moore played more last year, but do you think Aaron Banks is more like a starter over Jalen?
Yeah, so talking about this question here, Jalen Moore was in the mix to start at right guard this year and minicamp and OTAs. He was the first team right guard. Burford was the second team right guard. And I think it was Burford right guard, Zakel left guard, second team. And just because of the McGlinchey injury in a way, Jalen Moore got screwed in this process, but he's going to have a roster spot as a utility offensive lineman. He could have been in the mix for right guard, but it seems like he's going to have to play right tackle for the majority, if not the entirety of training camp as McGlinchey works back, because McGlinchey will be limited in scrimmage. Aaron Banks is 100% the starter at left guard. They're on 2 different sides. Banks is the solidified left guard. I don't think that will be touched. He looked good yesterday. He looked a little rougher today. He did allow a pressure to Maurice Hurst, or like a pressure / sack to Maurice Hurst today, who got beat. But entirety of the offensive line got beat. I said this earlier, but I'm not as worried about Banks. I think Banks is one of the better offensive linemen so far for the 49ers. I think the guy on his left, though, McKivitz, has looked a little shaky at times, especially going up against Bosa.
So Tavarius asks, how has Ray McLeod looked so far?
McLeod has looked fine. McLeod obviously shined in OTAs. He got more action than he got more action yesterday than today, I believe. He was like a check down guy yesterday. I think that's what his role might be in 2022. More of a check down guy. He's like a reliable option, then gets to use his legs to move next year. Oh, sorry, not next year. Down the field in a way. Today he got 2 targets. One was the PBU by Talano Funga. The second was a catch. He was also seen running deep routes today, so that was the other thing. I think McLeod will have a role. Him and Jennings have been getting extended roles with Deebo Samuel out during this entire training camp process. Jennings had 5 targets today, but McLeod has looked fine. I think McLeod, his main thing will be as a kick returner, punt returner. He was the number 1 guy there, but he's also seen fine as a receiver so far.
Media asks, how has the rookie Danny Gray been?
Gray was a highlight today. I didn't see him much yesterday, but Gray had he had the only touchdown of the day. Torched the 13 defense, just blew by him. Speaking about Brock Purdy was the quarterback on the play. It was about a 45-yard pass. Gray torched the defense. Purdy underthrew him, but Gray was like far enough ahead that the pass, despite being underthrown, was still caught and run in for a touchdown in a way. So good play by Gray. He definitely has the deep speed. The other play that Gray had was against Travarius Ward. Trey Lance was throwing on that play. Gray ran a deep route, and surprisingly, Ward was step in step with him. Lance tested it, incomplete pass. Ward was step in step. It was a good rep by Ward.
My next question it's about Trey Lance, but compared from today and yesterday, I know they did 7-on-7s yesterday and 11-on-11 today. What did you see different? Because I know he went 7 for 15 today with 1 interception. I believe it was 9 for 11 yesterday. If I'm not mistaken.
Obviously, everyone has different numbers. My numbers might not be as trustworthy. I thought I had it at 6 of 14 today with 1 pick, 9 of 11 yesterday. So overall, 15 of, I think, 25, 15 of 25 so far in training camp. Yesterday, more you'd expect more completion percentage, a lot shorter passes. Today, stretched the field a lot more. It's interesting. I think him and Ayuk and Jennings and all the guys have to find a way to get past this first-team defense, especially in the intermediate and deeper routes. They were not that successful today. That's where a majority of these incompletions came. Lance had good throws, and he also had poor throws. I mentioned some of the good placed throws down the field a little earlier. He also had a really nice rollout where he extended the play with his legs after facing pressure. Rolled to his left, cross-body throw, hit Brandon Ayuk for 20 yards. Another play that Lance had,
did he have like a run for 20 yards or something like that too?
Yeah, that was the one. He faced pressure again, recurring theme, escaped the pocket. There was a defensive lineman right on his tail and rushed right along the sideline for about 20, 25, 30 yards there. That was a nice play as well. And then he fired back another pressure play, stood in the pocket this time, fired a pass over the middle of George Kittle, about a 13-yard pass. That was he had a nice series of 3 plays. He started off the day really rough. Not really rough, but 0 for 3, ended the first session. There were 2 scrimmage sessions, ended the first one 2 for 5, and then completed 3. It was 2 completed passes, and then the nice 30-yard run to start the second session.
Okay.
That's awesome, man.
Any other questions?
How has the energy been from the fans, basically, that are there? Because I know they had I believe it was Quantrez Knight had to hype the fans up today as far as being a rookie. So how has the energy been from the fans? Like, what do you feel? What kind of aura are you getting from the people that are there watching these practices?
Yeah, so the energy is definitely there. Like, it's nice because this group of players, there were a couple of times end of practice where you can definitely feel the energy. Fans were shouting Kittle, Kittle, Kittle. Kittle comes by, he does his regular hyping the crowd up type of thing, and everybody was just loud. Kittle was there. Fred Warner was the main hype guy for the 49ers, and newly signed defensive tackle Robert Ndiche. He also had he hyped the crowd up at a time as well. Energy, though, is certainly there. You could definitely feel it. Rookie hype was also there as well.
That's what I was going to ask. How is that new defensive tackle? How has he been looking so far?
I originally thought he'd be a camp body, but Nick Ndiche had a good day today. I didn't notice him yesterday. I didn't realize he was on the field yesterday as much, but today he had a good day as the defensive tackle. I think he ran with the second team, if I'm not mistaken, because it was, like I said, yeah. So there are two fields. He was on the second field, and he was on the second team there with Teray, undrafted free agent Kevin Atkins, and then he was with Drake Jackson as well. But Nick Ndiche had a sack today. He had a pressure as well. He had a nice day today. And I don't think he'll fight for a roster spot, but if an injury occurs, he might be a cut candidate to be brought back for extended play.
Yeah, because he was like a first-round pick with the Cardinals. He just never panned out. So when I saw him, that was my first thought process was, when they signed him initially, I was like, wait a minute, how are we signing him? Where's the money coming from? But then again, they probably got a little bit in the stash. You know what? I'll ask you a question that I don't know if you've been asked this before. I think you might have been asked by Breezy.
Go for it.
You think Jimmy is traded or cut?
It's an interesting question. At the moment, I'd lean towards traded, just because I think there is significant interest. Because the one thing that fans don't understand, Jimmy Garoppolo's contract does not matter. It's essentially, in my opinion, Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent right now. Jimmy Garoppolo the 49ers gave him official permission. What that means is he can go to other teams and negotiate a contract. His contract is non-guaranteed. None of the money from this contract, he's not going to make this money. He regardless of what happens, he won't make $24 million this year. So he can essentially go to the Giants, go to a team, negotiate a 1 year, $10 million deal, then execute in a way a sign and trade. I'm going to get this deal with the Giants. The Giants send something back. And because you can have that renegotiation as opposed to Baker Mayfield, maybe even Sam Darnold at times, whose contracts are guaranteed, I think there is certain interest. I've heard from my guy Marco that the New York Giants have certainly expressed interest in Jimmy Garoppolo. I think there is interest for his services, but I would definitely not be surprised if he's cut. He could even ask for his release. The 49ers look good in that way because they let him go under his wishes. And so I think the 49ers end up winning the situation regardless of what happens.
All right. And
awesome.
Melissa.
Yeah, because me personally, I don't care what happens, just as long as he's not on the roster week one.
Yeah.
I don't really care what happens either. I don't think the compensation will be that significant when whatever gets brought back. I think it will be, honestly, I think it will be a little more maybe than Baker Mayfield just because of the money situation, because the team, it's for the team that gets to decide how much money they pay and the guaranteed amount. Like the entirety of what they're paying is not what Garoppolo might earn, right? It might be an incentive-based contract or something like that. So that's why I think it might be more compensation. But overall, I don't really care, be it if it's a fourth-round pick or if he's cut. I think it's the same because the 49ers have such draft compensation in 2022 that it doesn't matter as much.
Melissa asks, have you seen anything impressive from the undrafted free agents at all in these 2 days?
Yeah, UDFAs haven't seen too much action, I'd say. I know everyone's favorite is Leon O'Neal. Leon O'Neal playing with the third team. He's the third team safety alongside Dante Johnson. It's them two. So O'Neal, he's been being coached up a lot. Like you see a lot of the coaches trying to give him a lot of directions. You see a guy like Talanoa Hufanga trying to be a vocal leader with Leon O'Neal. I don't think O'Neal makes the roster just because there are 5 safeties ahead of him, and I think that the 49ers are more comfortable with them. I haven't really believed that O'Neal will make the roster. As for the offensive linemen, West and Poe, West has seen minimal action. Poe hasn't necessarily looked that great during his action. I think it's a long shot for both of them as well. The 3 linebackers, to me, were the most intriguing signings. Gemmel, Olubi, and then McCrary Ball. All three of them are the third string linebacker group, meaning the bottom three of the 9 linebackers. Gemmel is the middle linebacker, the Mike. I think it was Olubi on his left side, McCurry Ball on his right side. I thought potentially one of them could push Flanagan Fowles for that role, but Olubi or Gemmel or McCurry Ball right now doesn't seem like that's happening either. The biggest undrafted free agent kind of guy, I think, is Jordan Mason. I think he's the one with the most potential to make the roster. He's looked good so far. He's looked like an NFL player. I think that he could push Jeff Wilson Jr. out of a spot if he continues to play how he's played.
All right.
It's awesome,
All right.
man.
We're gonna get going here soon, pretty quick here. But I wanted to ask you, what I don't know if you've seen it yet, but what was your take on Louis Riddick's take on Trey Lance this morning on First Take?
I have not seen it, so you guys can get an official reaction. What did he say?
All right, let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on.
Oh yeah. Brandon's the king of finding shit like last minute, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I just subscribed to your channel, Rohan. Let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Yeah, while we're waiting, man.
Thank you, man. You guys can it's my name, Rohan Chakravarthi. You can find me on Twitter at Rohan Chakrav, and then the YouTube link's in the description. I'm reporting every day from training camp, so be sure to check there. I'll be posting my daily stream right after training camp on that channel, so be sure to check that out. And also appreciate all you guys for having me on today.
Oh yeah, man. I'll get you. I'll get you over on my channel as well, man. We'll definitely do something. Get you going.
Let's do it. Mike here asking, okay, do you believe if Burford wins the right guard job? I think so at the moment. He has no competition, which is the interesting part to me. The two guys that were going to compete were Brunskill and were Jalen Moore. Neither of them has seen a single right guard snap so far with the first team. So I don't think that Burford really has a threat to his job at the moment. Maybe that's not the best scenario. You do normally want competition, but maybe that also changes when McGlinchey comes back a little more and Moore gets to get more action at right guard. But right now, I think Burford wins that job.
All right. And then Melissa asked, do you think if Hasty and Wilson Jr. both leave, do we bring in a vet? Because Shannon usually prefers a vet in every room.
I think the vet in this room is Juszczyk. I think when you talk about the running backs, Juszczyk is normally mentioned with them. We carry 5 running backs with Juszczyk being one. So I think he's the vet now in the group. And I think, they like Mitchell, right? They like that everybody has a different position group. And in a way, they have a vet in their coach. Anthony Lynn played the running back position. That's something different than any other running back coach that they've had before. Bobby Turner obviously has been there. Mike McDaniel's been there. But Anthony Lynn is a guy who's recently played the position. I think that also is another added voice. And one thing we heard, I forget who said it exactly, but it was, I'll try and remember, but it was during the press conferences, and a player was talking about the coaching staff and talking about 2 specific guys. And he was talking about how the other guy was a former player. So you don't necessarily treat those the coaches that are former players as coaches, but also an ear that you can lean on and ask for advice as a former player.
Tavarius asks who will be running back 2.
This is I don't know at the moment. This is a battle that we'll see. It's TDP, it's Sermon battling in there. Maybe Hasty or Wilson somehow gets back in the mix, but right now it's TDP or Sermon. I'd expect TDP to potentially be the third guy to start camp just because Sermon has a year ahead of him, but I wouldn't be surprised if TDP is that second guy so far.
All right. I found the video, so let's take a look at it real fast.
All right, let's do it.
When we get to year 2023, you will see all the things that I know I personally fell in love with about this young man in terms of his football character, his football intellect, the degree to which he was a leader up there at North Dakota State, the degree to which he threw the football beautifully up there at North Dakota State. I think we will all see this is why Kyle wanted this guy. This is why he believed he could take this football team to a whole new level. And ultimately, as much as I love Jimmy G, he will be a distant, distant memory. and San Francisco will be hoisting Super Bowl trophies again. I went so far as to say this. We love to pick dark horses, right? We love to pick long shots. I picked Trey Lance as my long shot to win the MVP this year in a manner in which, the same way I said it about Patrick Mahomes when he first burst onto the scene in 2018, that he could take this league by storm and surprise a bunch of people. It may start slow, but this kid is a unique individual in the way he is wired and the athletic ability that he possesses. Do not bet against him. I think he's going to surprise some people.
I love every second of that. That's what I'm talking about, man. Backing us up and doubling down on his take on Trey Lance, man. That's the one thing that is beautiful. You know, I hate that. You ain't right now to say Beto, calm down, man.
Speaking Beto,
he took. So if you see the show, Rombo took now Jimmy, but now he is stating he will not put any. He will put. He had Jimmy. Okay, so have you ever watched Rombo Sports, Ron?
I've called in a couple of times. I don't watch. Yeah. I've called in. Yeah.
So one side he had Jimmy, the other side he had
Joe Montana.
So what he did now was he took Jimmy down and he came in with the excuse that he's no longer putting up any current players because he's only putting up former players that were great for the Niners because, you know, you could take a team to an NFC championship in the Super Bowl and, you know, they throw you away winning 5 years later. And it's like, bro, really? Come on, man. You really that salty about this dude getting up out the building that you gonna use that as the card? And he's like, don't ask me to put anyone up because I'm not going to. And I'm like, so I put in the chat, I was like, so if Lance brings us that 6 Lombardi, can he get a spot? And he didn't answer it. I'm like, yeah, I know you saw my comment, man. Like, yeah, he's hilarious.
So real quick before we end it off here, Christian had to go, but I wanted to ask you, Rohan, what is your take on the Deebo Samuel situation with the contract? We just saw that DK just got signed today. And we heard this morning that Deebo could get signed by the end of the weekend. So what's our take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do hope that Deebo Samuel gets signed by the weekend because Monday is when pads start. This offense, like I've heard some reactions that this offense has looked terrible without Deebo Samuel. I don't think that that's true, but this offense is considerably better with Deebo Samuel. I think, like, on some of those deeper routes, right, when you have Deebo Samuel and his ability to, and the way that he catches the football, and the way that how physical he is, I think that some of those incompletions turn to completions for the 49ers. And it also allows the other players to play their more the roles that they're more comfortable in. Ayuk as the other receiver, Jennings in the slot, and McLeod in situational areas too. So I think it could be more helpful. And I think Deebo Samuel, if he gets a deal this weekend, it's perfect. The final domino did drop. DK Metcalf got his deal. I don't think it was a necessary domino, but I think a deal should happen any day. That has dropped now. We saw it. I remember one thing. Fred Warner, Darius Leonard, right before training camp, both of them were waiting it out for the other. Warner signed one deal. Hours later, Leonard signed his deal for $6 million more. So you could see something as soon as this weekend for sure.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is that it's, you know, like when you look at it, man, you know, the person who wins, that agent, he got all these players and he get everybody new money. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he's just sitting back going, man, look, I done made a killing this year, baby. I'm good. I don't have to worry about nothing. So the agent is definitely having a good thing. I think, honestly, you can answer this question too, Rohan, but I'm going to answer real quick. I honestly think that Deebo gets a 4-year. The reason being is because of his age. I think he will want that extra year, allowing him to get extra money. Because the issue is he entered the league already older. You know, like you want to enter the league, honestly, at the ideal age of 20 to 21. It's truthfully when you want to enter the league. And if you can get in there, that means you can get in off your rookie contract and probably get yourself at least one, maybe two more deals, depending on your level of play. When you enter the league at an older age, I want to say 30, they start pushing you out. They start feeling like you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not fast enough, you're not smart enough, and it's really hard to get paid. So with Debo, I think he would go for a fourth year. But what do you think, Rohan?
I think Debo could even argue for a third year. We've seen two now. Terry McLaurin got a 3-year extension. DK Metcalf got a 3-year extension. And the one difference, Melissa points out, Debo Samuel is already 26 years old. Mm-hmm. I originally predicted a 5-year extension with which would include a 3-year opt-out clause that could be mutual, because then if Debo Samuel wants out, you get a new contract, then you can extend something then. Then if the 49ers want out because of so-called issues, like you said, when players get older, you can cut ties there. I thought that could be something that I think the 49ers probably wanted that originally. I don't know if that's going to happen now. It might be a straight-up 3-year deal. The only difference is I'm interested in the guaranteed money then, because it might be 3 guaranteed years worth of contract then. Or it might be a 4-year deal where 3 years of it is guaranteed, because one thing is, I see Niner Sickness podcast saying 4 years, which will be 5. I don't think that's true. I think it's going to be if it's no, he's right. If it's an extension that kicks in next year, then it's like that. But if an extension that kicks in, I think it will kick in next year, right, with the signing bonus and everything elevating this year's contract. So it'll essentially be a 4-year deal then. But the opt-out clause will be after that 3rd year. It'll be a 4-year deal. But a 3-year, like the opt-out after that 3rd year. So I think it will be a shorter deal than I originally predicted, just based on how the other contracts have gone, and because Samuel is already 26 years old.
There you go.
All right, sweet. Perfect. Well, Rohan, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. I really appreciate you coming on and talking training camp with us. I know you've been out there grinding all day, even yesterday too, man. I've been joining your spaces, watching your show, to find out what's going on in training camp. So really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and what you think so far. And I'm hoping we could get another show going possibly next week if you're available.
We'll definitely link up. Thank you both for having me on. It's been a pleasure to talk again with you, Brandon, and to meet you, Deon. I've definitely watched some of your stuff when you've been in collab. So nice to meet you both, and we'll figure it out.
Sorry if you watch some of my stuff. I'm a little crazy, man, get a little ballistic at times. So I'm rapid fire with it. But hey, man, continue to grind out there. And while you out there, man, please throw your channel out. Like when you out there with the people, hell, don't be. Look, man, turn around, and look. Okay, you see this face right here? My name is Rohan, baby. I'm the flyest cat out here. You gotta throw that Bay Area swag on them, man. Make sure they know, you know what I'm saying? And when they come and can I get your number? Now, baby, subscribe to the channel. Don't worry about it. Subscribe to the channel. That's how you gotta do it. You know what I'm saying?
But before we head out, let me just go over my I can't think. I didn't want to blink right now. All right, just go over to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Favorite Podcast. Hit that like, subscribe button. Really appreciate it. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers at least, and we'll do a giveaway of one of our gears. If you haven't yet already, go over to our Twitter page at FFPod49. Instagram spelled all the way out is Forever Faithful Podcast. We also have a Twitch, twitch.tv/Forever Faithful Podcast. And give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/FFPod49. I think that'll do it for us tonight, guys. Niner Sickness says, Rohan, thank you for what you're doing in training camp and sharing with us everything that is going on. Even though I'm not there, I feel like I'm there watching it through your eyes.
Thank you, man.
That's what we do. We live it vicariously through you, man.
Yes.
See, I'm 5'2".
Exactly.
You said you 6'2". I'm 5'6". I definitely live vicariously through you because I would love to be 6'2". But, the Lord just blessed me with 5'6". So it's all I got. It's all I can work with.
Yes, sir. Once again, guys, hit that like subscribe button. I really appreciate it. We're still trying to grow here. We've been here over a year now, second season in with this podcast, and we'll be continuing to get more guests on and having great shows throughout the season. So until next time, guys, go Niners.
Go Niners.